To talk about recent survey by the EACC that shows that the national average bribe went up in the year 2023 from about 6,500 to 11,625. That was the first full year of Kenya Kwanza in office. I'm not saying they are responsible, but this is what the survey is showing. It is also showing that Kenyans paid up to 163,000 shillings on average to secure employment in the country. I don't know, Senator Leda Molekina, we keep moving, we keep amending laws, appointing new officials, changing structures so that we're able to fight corruption. But the more we do that, the more intense it gets, to an extent that even Kenyans now are more willing to part with a bribe to secure a service.
Governors will tell you that when you send EACC officers to them, they give them money, and the money is, the issue is put under the rug. The problem we have in Kenya is that we do not have an institution which is not corrupt. And this is why I was telling President Ruto that if he supports these independent institutions and allow them to work without any fear that somebody somewhere will protect a corrupt individual, then I think we will be able to become fair to the future generations. I'm happy to see that this week, the former governor of Migori is in court. I'm happy to see that EACC is also trying to recover assets, almost worth 300 billion from former officials. And this should go out there as a warning to all these governors that we've got an article in the Constitution, Article 226, subsection 5, which states clearly that if a holder of a public office, including a political office, misappropriate public funds, that person is responsible, whether in office or out of office. So I'll tell these governors, you continue lining your own pocket, continue paying the way forward, but guess what? You know, someone will come back and haunt you. You know, in fact, right now in the Senate, we have taken a position that any governor who is brought there is sent home. Number two, we've also taken a position in both the PIC committee and the PAC committee that will be brutal and thorough to these governors, you know, and I'm happy. And I want to plead to my brothers and sisters that when the Parliamentary Powers and Privileges Act gets to the National Assembly, you know, we have increased even the fine. We are amending Section 19 of the Parliamentary Powers and Privileges Act, which currently calls for a penalty of about 500,000 if a witness is summoned to Parliament and doesn't appear to 2 million shillings, that they support that. And we even they even further amend to make it very painful for somebody to continue corrupting. Because the problem is this: we are all corrupt, county governors are corrupt, EACC is corrupt. Okay, the institutions that are supposed to be manding corruption, they are also corrupt. You know, the Auditor General, you send some auditors, they are also corrupt. You know, so these guys, they already know. You know, in Masai, we call it is like you have a gourd full of milk. And then when you try to, like, you know, safeguard it, if you open the lid, all the insects get in. So the moment you point corruption, all these institutions, they run in, and they say, hey, hapa, tutakunyonga. Even in Parliament, we're also corrupt. So let us be honest.
How do you do that?
So the whole system is corrupt. So the only way that we can be able to be fair for future generation is for us to realize, and also to read back in history and look at other countries that were in one situation like us. Like Singapore is an example. You know, the founder of Singapore said clearly that if good people don't go into politics, bad people will go. So I want to call upon Kenyans to now think about employing good people to be their leaders. You know, let me tell you something, and I'll end this in 20 seconds.
I want to circulate the question because I'm running out of time. Oh, Deputy Speaker, tell me, because he says that Parliament is also corrupt. I'm looking at the report. It says that in terms of the perception, where is this? I'm looking at their rating of Parliament, because for governors, they are saying 53% are not confident that governors will fight corruption. 49% are saying they are not confident the executive, in this case the presidency, will fight corruption. Only 41% are confident. Then there are figures about members of the National Assembly, 53% are not confident that your house will. Only 38% are confident. 55% of respondents are not confident that the senators are going to fight corruption. Only 35% are confident. I mean, when we are dealing with this, because even if it is perception, eventually it becomes reality because people will approach these institutions or the people that they can trust. If they don't trust, they're going to corrupt them. Do you have any way of resolving this question?
Yes, I think it has to be stepped up, more surveillance, and changing also some laws that makes people not be able to corrupt. You see, our current procurement laws lends itself to corruption. Some of the processes that we have lends itself to corruption. And that's why digitizing government services is going to help, because it's going to become difficult. But also, Sam, please allow me to respond to an intern doctor who's a friend of mine who said...
I'll give an opportunity for that. Let's first of all wind up this. You're saying that digitizing government is what is going to sort it out.
Because when people
remember, if you're going to apply for a passport, it is online. Everything is online, apart from when you're going to collect your biometric details. The payment is online on the eCitizen platform. But it could cost you an average of 75,000 shillings to secure a passport.
To get the passport. So that is why... No, that's what I'm saying. You change the regulations so that you say that when somebody has taken their fingerprints, they must get their passport within so many days, so that that officer will have to explain if you don't get it. So if people are guaranteed that it's a 7-day process, then people won't pay the bribe. Because right now people pay because the officer there has discretion. They have the discretion to say, to decide whether you get it today or in 100 days. That's why you bribe them.
Okay.
So I think putting those timelines...
To the feedback of the medical intern. So, Honorable Mbowe, so Kenyans, if you're reflecting on that paper, the standard, and saying the cost of being Kenyan is extremely expensive, so you pay for service, but you also budget for bribing your way to get a service.
You know, Sam, let me just begin by agreeing with you when you read your report there that bribery has gone up under the watch of the administration of Kenya Kwanza. But I think sorting out this thing, previously we had conversations about how to deal with this issue of corruption. And one of the most important things is to deal with issues we call lifestyle audit. You know, a lot of these people are stealing, and the money they are stealing is actually being flouted. You know, the people take up public office, and within immediately they take up public office. Their lifestyle changes. The children move to more expensive schools. They move to new estates. You remember a situation after I was part of the vetting process I'm part of the appointments committee for CSs. We vetted them, and their wealth was laid bare for the country to hear. But within a few months, one of the CSs was already buying a house in Karen. And in fact, kicking out a member of parliament. Some of these things are so obvious. Lifestyle audit is the only way out. We can figure out, and you look at the people, the dressings, people are wearing brands that are expensive and they're known. So we need to do a lifestyle audit, and people should be held to account for the money that they are spending and flouting for Kenyans to see.
Honorable Ndeto.
Sam, over and above what my colleagues have said, maybe I would just like to add 2 things in our fight against corruption. And I think I support automation of government services, because the more we reduce the human element, the more we reduce these chances of
and discretion
of bribe taking and discretion and things like that. But I would also like to add things like training, civic education. Those are all very, very important things. I think as a country we need to keep telling our people, because remember there is a briber and the bribed. So, and we have to deal with it. Sometimes we have too much focus on the person who has received the bribe, but also we need to educate the person who is bribing. But more importantly is that as the economy improves, or if we improve our economy, if we reduce poverty, if we increase opportunities out there, I think perhaps that is the best long-term solution for dealing with corruption. Countries, and generally you can be able to see countries that have better... If we increase opportunities, because a lot of the corruption issues are also because of... But how do you
increase the opportunities if even getting a job, you have to bribe your way?
That's what I'm saying. If the economy was growing and there are more jobs, how do you need to bribe?
Can corruption grow with corruption?
That's what I'm saying. We have to also, as we tackle corruption, we have to address some of the root causes of corruption, like these reduced opportunities that make people feel, for me to get these few opportunities available, in the country, I've got to, bribe.
To get a job.
So, get a passport.
A job.
We have to focus. It's one thing to fight corruption. It's another thing to fight the root causes of corruption. And I think one of them, the status of the economy, improving the economy can go a long, long way in terms of improving. But again, policing, where we have a big weakness in this country, again, is on policing, because law enforcement is very, very important. Even some of those countries you hear where people are not corrupt in the West, it's not because they are nice people. It's not like that they are the best people in the world. It's because everyone knows the implications of being corrupt. You will be caught, you will be prosecuted, you will be jailed. Here, people have, in a way, made calculations that I can be corrupt. The probability of being arrested, the probability of being prosecuted, the probability of being jailed, you can do some math.
You pay
and
there
is a way around it. Once we eliminate that, I think people will think twice before they become corrupt.
You know what you're also not saying, Honorable Ndeshe, is that in this country, if you're being prosecuted, it may become political witch hunt, according to you. And eventually people get cases withdrawn. The EACC survey...
Sam, I don't know that you...
I mean,
those are words you have put in my mouth.
I've not.
But
I've said what you're not saying. So the police, according to the survey, 69% of Kenyans do not trust the police, 45% do not trust the DCI, 41% do not trust the ODPP, 45% do not trust the KRA in fighting corruption. You might ask, but it is lower than 50%. If you look at the confidence levels, it is between 24% and 31% for those institutions. Big challenge. A feedback this morning at Citizen TV Kenya at Sam Gitu.
The hashtag give my feedback.
Closing remarks, huh?
Daybreak. No closing remarks, just Deputy Speaker will have a... Brian Chamwa says that the President should lead negotiations and discussions to find a compromise that addresses both the needs of the healthcare professionals and the economic constraints of the country. He shouldn't be unbothered to leave the matter to Nakhumicha. What does that mean?
I think he bothered.
I don't know what that means. Lillian Sioe, let our striking doctors give the whole of nation approach a chance in a bid to end the strike for the sake of the sick and suffering patients. This is the time for our doctors to practice their Hippocratic oath more than ever. Okay? Amaganga, NCPB, Kenya Seed and Western Seed should be the only institutions licensed to sell fertilizer and seeds respectively as a strategy to curb fake fertilizers and seeds from cartels, a scheme that will enhance accountability. Engineer Lazaro, victimizing KEBS is just a ploy of gimmick to divert our attention. Big question, why take too long for government to respond over this issue, and who should bear the biggest responsibility? Remember, fertilizer distribution is top government project.
True.
Okay, Sawe, our leaders prioritize luxury over investments, farmers receive counterfeit input, doctors are undervalued, education funding is delayed, corruption remains rampant. It's a case of preaching water while indulging in wine. Hustlers promised heaven. But, Deputy Speaker, what did you want to say?
Yes, just allow me just as a sign of respect to Dr. Annette, who is she's an intern, and she says interns are doing 3 to 4 calls in a week, which comes to 96 hours. She says they respond to emergencies. They're called and they have no risk allowance because sometimes they have to travel at night to the hospital. She says they're also exposed to occupational risks like